Hey, what's going on? What's going on? August 1st. Today is the Tarriff Day. So we're going to see. Let's see. Let me do this. Man, we already seen the market get hit real bad this morning. Not real bad, but we've seen the effects of the tariffs. Let's see. Right here. We're seeing the effects of the tariffs. I think they're supposed to click in on the 7th, so they still got time to make deals. But some countries are already getting hit, along with the jobs report. Brought us some negativity into the stock market today. Yeah, I figured I'd try to go like this, to get a better look on what we got going on. I'm watching this stock market this morning, guys. Some people might say, well, Stock Sniper, you ain't been talking about like particularly day trading that much. But that doesn't mean I haven't been day trading. I just pivoted a little bit because I kind of want people to focus on long-term investing. Whoa, that's crazy. I kind of want people to focus on earning, spending less, and making investments. Because day trading is a skill you got to learn. I'm going to get back to that. But right now, we should be earning, spending less, and making proper investments. So that's why I kind of pivot a little bit, but it's all good. Yeah, I like this a little bit better. As far as the people, you can see what we got going on a whole lot. We can see a lot better on what's going on today. And look, let me turn this down. And look, the S&P 500 is straight up dumping. Straight up dumping. Let me look and see what the video got going on. It's dumping. Yeah, it's August 1st. It's basically the deadline for the tariffs. Jobs report was a disaster. So, that's the reason why we had this red sell-off going on. Could be a buying opportunity for some people. Could be a good buying opportunity. So let me switch. Let's see. I'm trying to change to see what's going on. Appreciate y'all for joining me. I'm your host, the one and only Stock Sniper. Trying something a little bit different today. Let's see. See, Canada got hit with 35% tariffs. Let's see. Oh my God, bro. All right. I don't want to see that. Yeah, Canada got hit pretty hard. Let's see, the S&P 500. We had let's see, 21, a $14 drop from yesterday on this tariff anticipation of August 1st. Really more than that, because look, we was at 641, a $20 drop from the highs of 641 all the way down to 621. That's why when you hear tariffs, you already automatically know. Once you do your due diligence and your homework, short city, put city, short city. And but then again, it's also a buying opportunity for your long-term investments. So we got tariffs and that jobs report. In other words, it's a lot of layoffs starting to happen. Okay. Let me go over here. Yeah, I like this setup a little bit better. Yeah, I like this better. It's different than the live feed, short feed, but yeah, I kind of like this better. Let's see. Wait, I forgot about that SpaceX. I think we're going to watch this. They're getting ready to take off. Astronauts getting ready to take off, guys. I kind of like watching this. Shout out to SpaceX and Elon Musk. They're finna get ready to take off. I like how SpaceX takes off and then it sends them out of orbit and then it turns around to come back and land right back on the launching pad. It turns around and lands back on that launching pad.
Okay. All right, so we have been listening to a weather brief. This was off air, by the way, but Nick and I listening to launch.
We still
weather
got an
officer
hour and a
James
half. They got to
Taylor,
sit. I guess they're going to have to sit right there.
Launch director
Damn,
for
that's crazy.
SpaceX on the weather. This is something
They're
that
going to
they
sit
had set
right
up
there for an
a
hour
few
and a half
hours
because
ago
it's
to do
crew
one at
for
the
launch.
T-minus 2-hour mark. And so here we are,
Well,
and we have the update.
hour and
And
44.
basically what they said was, it is a sit, watch, and wait situation. We do have
Wow.
increased moisture in the atmosphere. You can certainly see that in the picture in the lower right hand of your screen. Cumulus clouds, light ones building in the area.
Minutes.
The question is, when these sea breeze storms and clouds develop, they are going to develop inland, which that launch pad that you see right there is literally 500 feet from the beach. So it's all the way as close as you can get to the water. Right there at the Atlantic Ocean. But you see two things here in the weather. You see some low,
There's a weather delay.
thin, puffy cumulus starting to, be created in the area, starting to develop. And then you see those high cirrus clouds. Those high clouds are drier in nature. You want to see those. They are moving over the area. They look at those as a sign of good things, potentially to kind of mitigate against the increase in moisture. But overall, when the launch weather officer was asked where he would put the current POV updated to the second right now, he left it at 40% probability of violation, which puts us at a 60% go. That has been the go forecast since we began our launch broadcast this morning. You see there in that shot a line of cumulus clouds Nice little clouds there. The scale, the angle of this kind of throws you off because it makes it look like it's out in front of it. But those clouds are more over towards the land side. So we will see what happens with our sea breeze. We're watching it closely. We're also watching the weather along the ascent corridor. Showers are moving through that area at this moment. We also need to have good conditions there. This is where the Dragon could potentially splash down. But what's good about the showers there, Nick, is that they are expected to clear that area in an hour or so. So hoping for a good ascent corridor. And then, of course, you have the abort zones. If they were to get to orbit, that they would later splash down to. They are monitoring those.
Okay, it's a weather
as
delay.
well. So essentially, more watching, more waiting. We've got a crew that's ready to go.
I guess I'll come back to that.
And we've got weather that's just a watch item and continues to be at this moment.
Yeah, no, it's actually, for me, it's fun to listen to that back channel conversation, back and forth between, the weather office over at the 45th Space Launch Delta and SpaceX, because you get to hear the depth of analysis that's going into, making sure that every step of the way the weather is going to be good enough for the crew, and so things are continuing to go. We're still 60% go. I'm staying positive, and it's great.
Well, we got really close yesterday at 12:09 p.m. Eastern Time. We were just a minute away. And so today we'll be at 11:43 a.m. Eastern Time. So if everything tracks as it did yesterday, then we should be good to go. How about that for some positivity from your co-host?
I love it. I love it.
a.m. on the East Coast and still 4 in the morning there on the West Coast. We're going to be diving into today's top stories as well. And of course, this is the biggest news coming into you as you're waking up this morning. President Trump's reciprocal tariffs are set to begin on August 7th. I want to put up this post that we have from Rapid Response 47. They're part of the Trump administration on their X account. They put a link out to an article saying they are further modifying the reciprocal tariff rates. And so what we do know is that dozens of countries have been facing tariffs and that new deadline now following President Trump's signature on an executive order. Today's deadline for countries to reach a deal had been pushed back to next Thursday, giving the government more time to adjust those rates. Ultimately, though, overnight, the president ordered 35% tariffs for Canada, while Mexico was given a 90-day extension to reach a deal. Let's now check in with Fox's Doug Luzader. He has the very latest on these tariffs and what you can expect as you're waking up this morning.
The administration has been holding firm to this deadline overnight, but it looks like it may be another week before many of these tariffs kick in, even as some say they're already feeling the impact. At this New York City toy store, all sales are now final.
Hey, what's up, Jonathan Davis and the Don? Appreciate y'all for joining me. Yeah, I like this setup a lot better. Even though it's different than the live feed, I like this a lot better. So appreciate y'all for joining me. Yeah, if you're wondering what is this change up, it is on computer mode. Before, I had it on phone mode. But as far as the viewers, I think this is a lot better. I like this a lot better.
Closing after more than 40 years. Done in, the owner says, primarily by online competition, but the threat of tariffs was too much.
The tariffs was what did me in. It was the final nail in the coffin.
At midnight, many of the long-delayed tariffs the president promised back in April were finally set to kick in, but implementation has been pushed back another week to deal with logistics.
And we're making a lot of deals. We're making deals for trillions and trillions. Nobody's ever seen anything quite like it.
The president yesterday pointed to deals he's already made with big U.S. trading partners like Japan and the European Union, with more to come. Mexico just got another delay on its tariffs, and the Treasury Secretary reported progress in talks with China.
I believe that we have the makings of a deal.
Skeptics say this will slow the economy and lead to inflation.
It's all talk, no substance. All hat, no cattle. and raises the costs for average Americans.
North of the border, we're already seeing an impact. At this Toronto store, you can still buy wine, but you'll walk right past a sign that says U.S. products are no longer available. And Canada got a hike in tariffs overnight because the president says the country hasn't done enough to cut down on drug trafficking. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
All right, our thanks to Doug Luzader for that report showing you this live vantage point that we have there in Washington, D.C. at the White House. So ultimately, we do know that President Trump signed that executive order last night to impose the tariffs between 15 and 41% on goods shipped to the U.S. from more than 67 countries. This ratcheted up those tariff costs to the highest level in more than a century at this point. It is important to note, though, this morning that those tariff and those new duties won't go into effect until August 7th. This now is giving countries yet another window to try to negotiate them down. And so we're going to continue to follow this as we're getting some responses as well, including Prime Minister Mark Carney putting out this statement on his X account a few hours ago in response to those new tariffs. I want to read this out in a part for you, saying that President Trump has announced that the United States will increase its tariffs to 35% on those Canadian exports that are not covered under the Canada-United States-Mexico agreement. While the Canadian government is disappointed by this action, we remain committed to this agreement, which is the world's second largest free trade agreement by trading volume. It does go on to say that while we will continue to negotiate with the United States on our trading relationship, the Canadian government is laser focused on what we can control, building Canada strong. The federal government, provinces, and territories are working together to cut down trade barriers to build one Canadian economy. We're developing a series of major nation-building projects with our provincial, territorial, and Indigenous partners. Together, these initiatives have the potential to catalyze over $500 billion in new investments for Canada. Canadians will be our best customer, creating more well-paying careers at home as we strengthen and diversify our trading partnerships throughout the world. We can give ourselves more than any foreign government can ever take away by building with Canadian workers and by using Canadian resources to benefit all Canadians. Again, that was the statement that was put out on the X account just a few hours ago in response to this change in tariffs from President Trump as well. So we'll continue to watch today as we're getting.
So these companies got basically 1 week to make a deal. 1 week. So let's go over here and see if the stock market's still been dumping. Let's see. We got support down here at the bottom, so we're gonna check back later to see will it go down even further than that. Okay, let's get back over here.
Deals with the United States or face significantly higher tariffs. Remember, President Trump in early April paused most of his so-called reciprocal tariffs, but time, as it does, moves ever forward and has brought us to the precipice of this new deadline, August 1st. Developments so far today as the clock ticks toward midnight. Trump announced a 90-day pause on higher tariffs on Mexico, so tariffs will remain at 25% for Mexico instead of going up to 30% as threatened. And while Trump this week did lock down a majorly important trade agreement with the European Union, there are many other countries who, as of now, remain deal-less.
Of our 18 major trading partners, 2/3 of those trading partners have a deal. We've sent out 17 letters to countries around the world. And the rest of those countries that either do not have a deal or have a letter, they will be hearing from this administration by the midnight deadline tonight.
One major trading partner without a deal as of now is Canada. Trump saying on Truth Social today that Canada's decision to recognize a Palestinian state, quote, will make it very hard for us to make a trade deal with them. Oh, Canada. On the heels of this, the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all closed down in the last hour as Trump seeks to close more trade deals. Can all of his tariffs survive the legal system? That's another question, because today a federal appeals court is hearing arguments in a major case arguing that Trump overstepped his legal authority, imposing many of his sweeping tariffs instead of Congress doing it. The lawsuit is brought by small businesses and represented by some very big shot attorneys, including a former acting U.S. Solicitor General who's going to join us in just a moment. But let's bring in CNN's resident tariff expert, Mr. Philip Mattingly. Phil, walk us through what 11th hour trade deals could still happen before deadline hits.
I think all eyes right now are on the Canada-U.S. relationship. Obviously, the president has made pretty clear that the optimism, or any optimism, for a potential agreement would seem to be minimal at this point in time. But with that 35% rate staring Canada in the face, officials say that there have been conversations between the two countries. How that actually plays out in the 7-ish hours we have until the deadline, I think, remains an open question. Also keeping an eye right now, obviously Mexico has been dealt with, at least given another 90 days. With the tariffs that were already in place. China has another week before their delay needs to be extended. That extension is expected, but Trump hasn't actually weighed in yet. One of the interesting elements here, Jake, is even for the major partners that have made deals and for the 150 plus other countries that are just waiting for some semblance of a sign about whether they're going to get a 10% universal tariff that Trump initially announced and was never delayed, or some other number, how it actually gets implemented. You know, you heard the White House press secretary say, we'll call them before midnight. We'll let them know. The president actually has to sign something to put them into place at 12:01 a.m. I was talking to a major importer earlier, said it's a really messy time right now because a lot of these countries don't know what their rate will be, haven't been told anything from the administration. The rush of last-minute efforts to clinch deals with the president from delegations from other countries has actually made it a little bit of a more complicated process, given Trump a lot of leverage, but nobody's really sure how this is going to land by midnight.
Yeah, the chaos, of course, is a feature, not a bug.
Absolutely.
Phil, what have been some of the practical effects of tariffs on big companies that we've seen so far? Earlier this week, we talked about Procter & Gamble raising prices, for example.
I think earnings season has been an enlightening moment for the actual impact that the tariffs can have on the corporate sector. I think from a price perspective, which is obviously what most in the audience would be most concerned about, we have seen the most vulnerable items that are the consumer-facing, electronics being the key, in particular autos as well, are areas where you're going to see price increases either already in place or you're starting to see them come over time. One of the interesting elements, Jake, is in talking to a lot of executives, particularly those in the wholesale retail industry, they say some of our members from trade groups have said some of their companies have held off. Right? One, there's a lot of uncertainty. They didn't know where rates were actually going to land. But two, nobody wanted to kind of be captured under the eye of Sauron of the president or his Truth Social account and wanted to wait and see what was going to happen. At some point, many of these executives say, prices are going to have to increase. It's just natural. One thing to keep in mind, Fed Chairman Jay Powell yesterday said, we are still in the early stages of figuring out the actual effect here. The Trump administration believes the exporters, the exporting countries, will eat the majority of the tariffs. If they don't, then the companies will because of the value and leverage of the market.
Bro, those companies are not going to eat those tariff prices. Come on now. It don't take that much of a brain to read into that. If I own a big business, and my taxes go up, I'm going to say, cool. I ain't going to really trip about it because all I'm going to do is pass the cost on. That's with anything. That's with anything.
We're going to see how that plays out. There's no precedent for something like this. And we haven't seen tariff rates, at least on net, this high since the 1930s.
What's the term that I've seen bandied about this week? Re-inflation? Is that what it's called? It has to do with the idea that inflation's going down, but now it might be going back up because of the tariffs.
It's been probably the biggest concern. It's also been one of the reasons.
For them to even think that these companies are going to eat the price, that don't make any sense. They're not going to eat the price. They're not. They're going to pass it on. And if they do remove the tariffs or bring the tariffs back down, they're not going to put the price back to what it was. It just don't work like that.
reasons you see Trump administration officials spiking the football right now of, hey, you all said there was going to be major jump in inflation. You all said there was going to be a recession. We haven't seen that at all. I think the concern right now is, again, I go back to Jay Powell and the Fed yesterday, and also what the board kind of laid out as their analysis of the situation. There is an argument to be made that there will be a one-time price increase and then it will filter out through the system. There is also a concern, which is why the Fed has not raised rates, that this will be a far more durable increase in prices that may escalate over time. The biggest question I think that I have at this point is when you look at supply chains and how they actually work, are companies moving their supply chains? Are they relocating those supply chains? Are they going to run into major hiccups with those supply chains in the weeks and months ahead? Then you're talking about something like what we saw in the wake of COVID, maybe not to that scale.
Yeah.
This is very complicated, and I just think it's important to underscore that while the Trump administration is absolutely correct, there is a resilience to the U.S. economy, a resilience to the U.S. consumer sentiment.
Man, it's a whole lot of money on that ship. Look at all those containers, guys. It's a lot of money on that ship. That's every time I used to go to those ship channels, I used to look at those ships and be like, golly. Just think about all the money that's inside of each one of those containers that's on that ship. Big money, man. Golly.
Sentiment has certainly rebounded. The markets remain at all-time highs or around them, at least before today. There are concerns that have not necessarily been understood yet.
And also from when you sub for me, when we talk to the small business owners every day, a lot of these people have been trying to hold off and not raise prices or do layoffs, and they are now saying, we have to do something in the next couple of months. So we could see lots of changes. Philip, always good to have you on. Thank you so much. Neil Kochel joins me now. He is the attorney for the small business plaintiffs in this lawsuit, arguing that Trump cannot use emergency powers to impose all these sweeping tariffs. He's also...
Yeah, it's really amazing to see how that operation goes at the ship channels. It's really amazing to see how it operates. Definitely hard work down there. Those guys that really work down there with boots on the ground at that ship channel, yeah, shout out to them, because that is really hard work down there.
Also the former acting U.S. Solicitor General for President Obama. Neil, good to see you again. So back in May, your clients won this case in the Court of International Trade. Today, a panel of 11 appeals court judges in D.C. heard arguments. Some of them did seem skeptical of the Trump administration's arguments. Tell us what your argument is and what you thought the judges were, how they responded to your arguments.
Yeah, so I think this group of small businesses that I and the Liberty Justice Center represent are saying, look, these tariffs are not something that the president can impose by his own say-so. They require Congress. That's where our Constitution in Article 1, Section 8 locates that power for the most important of reasons, Jake, going all the way back to the Revolutionary War and the idea that kings and presidents are always tempted to use tariffs and taxation. And here what Donald Trump has done is impose the largest tax increase on Americans since Bill Clinton in 1993, a tax increase of $1,300 per American family. And what we said today is, look, maybe that's a good idea, maybe it's a bad idea, but that's something for Congress to decide, and no president has ever asserted the raw power to do this on his own.
With respect, Neil, Congress doesn't seem to care, right? I mean, Republicans control the House, the Republicans control the Senate. They seem perfectly willing just to hand over all their powers to President Trump on this issue and several others.
Yeah, that may be, but that's all the more reason why, if the president thinks this is so important,
what's going on SpaceX.
We reducing risk and learning more that's going to help us get back to the surface of the moon and onto Mars.
That's the focus now, and
they got it. I guess they're gonna sit there for like an hour
as well. Aspect of
and a half. That's crazy. They got to just sit there.
Astronauts survive the hostility of space in deep space, going out to Mars, going to the moon. So much has been focused on that recently, and it's important because there's a lot of technology that we have yet to develop to help make sure astronauts are going to be safe on that journey.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, and you see this budding start of that understanding and helping really propel us deeper into space. But then you also see that level of complexity build up on the research that we're getting to be able to leverage like the stem cells here on the ground to make life better for everyone on Earth. And that's the goal of exploration at its biggest, is going and discovering and learning so that we can make things better back here on planet Earth.
I'll come back to that because I want to see that. I like to see it come back and come right back to the launching pad. That's what I like to see.
Now, even during the U.S. Special Envoy visits to the notorious Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, if we just took a look on what was happening over the course of the past 22 months, we can see that Gaza is still witnessing the culmination of tension, unprecedented military escalation, and deepening humanitarian crisis that has been politicized and militarized by the Israeli military. And it has been very obvious once the notorious Gaza Humanitarian Foundation started its operations in Gaza, where getting food has become very dangerous and humiliating, as many Palestinians started to view this suspicious foundation to be not a humanitarian actor, but as a symbol of control and manipulation. And people on the ground are expecting little from the Witkoff's visit to the notorious Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to bring any kind of tangible change. This planned stop to the notorious Gaza Humanitarian Foundation come as a part of a prolonged plan to craft a narrative that synthesizes the ongoing atrocities and the unprecedented famine that started to spread across Gaza. The situation on the ground remains alarming, as all reports that have been put out by Gaza's health ministry indicate that the situation is worsening and the number of malnutrition cases is on the rise without any kind of slowing.
In northern Gaza, crowds of starving Palestinians have been scrambling to get food any way they can. Israel is severely limiting the volume of aid getting into the north, meaning many return home to their families with, well, nothing to eat.
Man.
Ibrahim Al-Khalili now reports.
I'm here standing in the heart of northern Gaza City, where hundreds of thousands of starved Palestinians are coming to the scheme area in order to get a sack of flour. Here, it's a fight against survival, not a fight against food. We can clearly see hundreds and the crowds are coming, some of them carrying sacks of flowers, and some are coming back home empty-handed in the light of the ongoing famine that has gripped Gaza. We're talking about since March 2nd, Israel only allowed a trickle amount of food, just a drop in the water, just a drop in the ocean. We can clearly see here.
Yeah, Tim, that's SpaceX. Yep.
Are taking desperate measures. In these attempts, many people have lost their lives.
I stood behind a rock and they started shooting. I kept crawling until I reached the trailer. Then I got down. I managed to secure a bag of lentils. That's
I'm gonna go back to it in a second.
My husband is sick and disabled, and I have 6 daughters. That's why I'm the one who goes to get the aid. I don't have sons or boys who can bring the aid for me.
The aid is soaked in blood. Let's be honest. That's the reality. Why do we come here? For a bite to eat. There is nothing at home. We have no choice. Even as a government employee, my salary isn't enough to cover our basic needs. The cash simply isn't enough. And even as a government worker, I am forced to walk towards death.
We can also see how desperate Palestinians here walking in the heat of the sun just to try to find something to bring back home for their children in order to save them from the famine that has gripped Gaza. Brahim Khalili, Al Jazeera, from northern Gaza City, Palestine.
A former contractor for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is speaking about what he witnessed at the food distribution sites, describing war crimes and what he says are atrocities committed using American taxpayers' dollars. U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders posted his interview with Tony Aguilar on his YouTube channel.
My name is Tony Aguilar. I'm a retired Lieutenant Colonel Green Beret from service in the United States Army. I served for a career of 25 years. I've deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan in combat operations and numerous other operational deployments. So I spent a considerable amount of time in Gaza during my 45 days in Israel. I was under a contract by UG Solutions, which is the security apparatus under the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. I felt it was a noble cause. I felt it was a good mission to feed the people of Gaza. So I did sign up and go on the contract. The IDF gave us, SRS, UG, they gave us our marching orders. They told us which sites we would deliver from, when we would deliver, how much aid we would deliver, how much time we would stay on the site to deliver, what type of aid we would deliver. The IDF controlled and directed every aspect of the delivery of aid. From the very first day, distribution at Site 1 has been chaotic, pandemonium. The best way that I can describe how the Palestinians reach the site to receive aid is akin to the Hunger Games. Survival of the fittest. Whomever can run the fastest and the furthest to get to the site first gets the aid. So those that are typically left with receiving no aid, no food.
Hey, did y'all hear that? Day one, when they brought the food out there, that they basically had the Hunger Games. Whoever get there fastest, that's who gonna get the food. That's crazy. So you might have to run 6 miles a day like I run every day. That's nothing. They probably have to run 10, 20, 30, close to 100 miles to get to that aid, guys.
Food, no type of aid are children, women, disabled. The sites themselves, in terms of the process for having the Palestinians leave the distribution site, was done through shooting at them, hitting them with pepper spray and tear gas, firing rubber bullets from shotguns at them. And this isn't something that happened just once or twice. This happened every day at every distribution, at every site. This is not hyperbole. This is not Hamas propaganda. This is not Gaza Ministry of Health saying it. It's me. I've seen it.
An Israeli court has released from house arrest a settler who is accused of killing a Palestinian activist.
That's even badder. To get them to leave the food site, they shoot at them and hit them with tear gas. And he's saying that this the IDF that's doing that to these people.
Activist Yinon Levy is under UK and EU sanctions for assaulting and intimidating Palestinians. Now, you can see him in this video holding a gun and threatening Palestinians in Masafa Yatta in the occupied West Bank. He's accused of shooting activist and community leader Auda Hathalin. This is something which had happened on Monday. Hathalin was involved in the production of the Oscar-winning documentary No Other Land, about life in the shadow of settler violence. The court says there's doubt that the shot that fired and killed Kathleen was from him.
Other countries to feel significant pain scheduled to take effect August 7th are Syria, Laos, Myanmar, and Switzerland. India will have to pay a 25% tariff as punishment for its reliance on Russian products. Among the more fortunate trading partners that struck deals to accept a 15% U.S. tariff are the EU, Japan, South Korea, and Israel. The UK will be tariffed at 10%.
Of our 18 major trading partners, 2/3 of those trading partners have a deal.
Mexico and China, two of the U.S.'s biggest trading partners, have both received extensions to continue trade talks with the U.S. Trump supporters say the overall picture is a historic win for American trade policy. The U.S. economy rebounded slightly last quarter despite fears of the tariffs' impact on inflation. But Democrats warn U.S. consumers will see significant price increases.
But of course, what they're going to see, that's what I noticed about CNN, Fox. They don't show us that what we just seen. They don't show us that. And if a majority of the people see that, all they're going to say is that the majority of those people that's running to the food is Hamas. That's what they're going to say. Majority of the people are Hamas.
Increases down the road.
Trump tariff trade war is a trade war on the American people.
On Thursday, a panel of judges in Washington heard arguments from American business owners who believe Trump's tariffs are illegal. A court decision is expected in coming weeks, adding still further uncertainty. Heidi Jo Castro, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Christian Salumi now joins us live from outside the New York Stock Exchange. Christian, we've got a dollar which has been shellacked, major equity markets on the way down, as indeed a bond yield. So tell us a little bit more about this reaction and what's driving it.
Yeah, the markets are definitely down, but not as bad as what we saw after the first round of tariffs were enacted in April on so-called Liberation Day. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P are down more than 1.5%. That's, nothing to sneeze at, but not the 12% that
too many
we
people
saw
at
the
one
S&P
side.
drop
They're making it
on
play out
Liberation
like
Day
this.
or after Liberation.
Yeah.
Of course, the day's not over yet. We have to keep an eye on where things are
then
going.
how they
And the
treating
mood
those
is definitely a bit
shooting at them to make them leave.
When the first round of tariffs
They're
were
going
enacted,
to tell
the market
us
did drop
that
substantially, but
majority
then
of those people
clawed back a lot of the
are
losses
Hamas.
by a month later.
That's what they're going to
as
say.
deals were worked out. And a lot of economists are saying that this time around, the market has priced in tariffs. That's not really the issue that's driving investors, but it is still a concern for economists because the concern is still that the underlying fundamentals of the economy are under strain and the full weight of the tariffs haven't weighed in. And now we have a jobs report this morning that shows that hiring is down. Only 73,000 new jobs were added in the last month. That wasn't as good as economists were hoping for. Prices also ticked up in the last month. So we're seeing investors a bit negative processing all that, but more of a worry for economists than investors who are still finding a way to make money amid all the carve-outs and all of these tariffs.
Well, of course, and the Federal Reserve boss is also under scrutiny here as well, and under pressure, I should say. But overall, what does all this mean for the broader economy here, Kristen?
Yeah, that is the million-dollar question, of course. On the one hand, the Trump administration has been touting the fact that the GDP of the United States rose in the second quarter by more than 3%. But as I mentioned, prices are also ticking up in the last quarter. And also the hiring is lower. And that has been exactly what Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell has been worried about. And while Donald Trump has been pressuring him to lower interest rates to further spur the economy, he's been resistant to doing that. Now the jobs report shows that the economy may in fact be slowing down since hiring is lower. This could just push him to do what Donald Trump wants and raise those interest rates. So again, we're seeing still concern that the broader impacts of the tariffs have yet to be felt by businesses across the United States, and things will continue to decline, just not as dramatically as some had predicted.
Thank you, Kristen. Kristen Salumi there joining us from just outside the New York Stock Exchange. The new tariffs will also affect some copper imports into the United States. President Trump hoping to boost domestic production there, but experts say it could lead to a major set of price rises on a range of products and hit housing developments. As Alan Fisher now reports.
We've got the rough-in valves, which are pure copper.
Andrew Moore has almost finished building this house. A few more tweaks and the owner gets the keys. Done. just before a 50% hike in tariffs on copper, which will push up building costs significantly.
We expect that we're going to have a 10 to 25% increase in all of these allowances that I'm putting into the contract. And so that's a discussion we have to have with the owners and say, hey, look, this is what we know. This is what we think we can control. This is what we know and we think we can't control.
Donald Trump announced his plans for a 50% tariff on copper in July.
Tariff on copper, we're going to make it 50%.
The electrical panel is obviously
bad news for house builders.
We've got the breakers, which are a lot of copper, but also all the wires that come and wire the whole house.
But it's not just house builders that will be hit. Car making, electronics, energy, even medical applications.
It's the third most used mineral in the American supply chain, right? So these tariffs will have a major impact on production costs, and it spans pretty much the entire economy, not just the energy sector.
The United States imports about half of its copper needs. Donald Trump wants more domestic production, but new.
So that's why we got to pay attention to what's really, really going on, because they're finding any reason to raise prices, which, I mean, thinking about it, I really wouldn't blame them, because any reason to raise prices, I'm going to raise my prices. So we can't really blame them. All we should be doing is try to put ourselves in some type of position. In other words, start some type of small business, have something to sell, right? Don't really worry about, see me, I would put my focus on more of creating a product or a service rather than spend my energy thinking about the price increase. Because see, business thinks different than consumers. Most people are in a consumer mindset. Business people right now are doing this because all these things do, it just give a business guy permission to increase prices to wherever you want to put it at. That's how they extend their wealth. That's how they build more wealth. Of times like this, harsh times, when other people are fearful, when other people are scared, that's when they raise their prices. That's really when they build wealth. Wealth is being built right now. That's why I encourage anybody and everybody, you got to start something on the side. You got to start you a business on the side. I've been saying this for a while now, but you have to start something that's easy as a delivery business, something simple, and partner with a company that already have customers. But you gotta create an income. We have to get inside this game that's going on. The families, the people that are really going to win are the people that are creating a side, as they call it, hustle. I don't call it a side hustle. I call it a side business. But I'm going to start talking like that. You have to create a side hustle. You have to spend more time creating a side hustle than spending more time thinking about all these prices that are going up. In other words, we got to change the way we think. Because guess what, guys? Today is August the 1st. They have a 1-week window before these tariffs really, really hit. A lot of these things are going to start going up. And some people that just regular work a 9 to 5, or some people that are on a fixed income like a Social Security, are going to be heavily affected by these prices. Procter & Gamble, which makes soap and dishwashing liquid and all the hygiene products that we need, already said they're going up on their prices, bro. So if you don't have a side hustle, it's time to start spending your energy on creating a side hustle to a hedge against inflation. Start investing in these companies that we know, like, and trust, like an NVIDIA, right? If you invested into the stock market, that is a hedge against inflation. I know a lot of people that are not even invested in the stock market, guys. They just have a regular 9 to 5. They make a set amount every single week, every single month. A set income. They have no investments, no side hustle. So I'm saying right now, the easiest side hustle to start right now is a delivery business.
New mines run into approval problems because of environmental concerns.
You're looking at, 30-year timelines to permit a mine here in the United States. So if you place the tariffs on copper and you don't do anything to address our sort of regulatory burdens, you're going to see the impact of, higher prices for copper caused by the tariffs.
America's housing market is already facing problems. There's a lack of stock, building has slowed, interest rates are high, and now it will become more expensive to build and to buy. Trump has put tariffs in place before, then lifted them. What is needed, say many, is stability.
If people could be certain about their pricing, it would even if it was higher pricing, they would be more willing to go forward.
The threat of tariffs has already pushed the cost of copper higher. This may be a negotiating tactic with the White House ready to react if the pain is more than the gain. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera, Arlington, Virginia.
Still ahead on Al Jazeera, from badly equipped to a force to be reckoned with, China marks 98 years of the People's Liberation Army.
Hey there, it's been pouring rain non-stop for days in Rajasthan state in northwest India.
In eastern Ukraine.
That's why all this, it's a big play, as they say. What is a play, Stock Sniper? To build more wealth for the rich. Not only for the rich, but also if you got a small business, a hustle, if you got customers, even the small side hustles are going to raise their prices. If I'm selling t-shirts, right, and I have a large customer base, because of these tariffs, that's going to be my reason to raise my prices. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to make 10x. They're going to 10x their money. It's a play. It's a play.
Ukraine, Russia has...
In other words, it's a scam.
...claimed its first major victory in months, seizing the town of Chasiv Yar. Ukraine has denied that it's lost control of the town. Chasiv Yar has been strategically important for Ukraine as a logistical hub. It is located in the Donetsk region near Bakhmut, where there's been months of fighting. Military analysts say the town would give Russian forces a vantage point overlooking several eastern Ukrainian cities, including Kramatorsk and Slavyansk. Meanwhile, we've got US President Donald Trump saying Washington will impose further sanctions on Russia within 10 days if it does not agree to a ceasefire with Ukraine to end the war. He described the daily attacks on Ukraine as, quote, disgusting behavior.
Yeah, we're going to put sanctions. I don't know that sanctions bother him. You know, they know about sanctions. I know better than anybody about sanctions and tariffs and everything else. I don't know if that has any effect, but we're going to do it. It should be stopped. It's a disgrace. And the ones that are dying are they're losing 7,000 now. It was 5,000. They're losing now 7,000 soldiers a week, Ukrainian soldiers and Russian soldiers. And they're also losing people now in the towns and cities because Putin's hitting them with rockets. No, I think it's disgraceful.
So how are international sanctions playing out? For one, the aviation industry is turning to domestic suppliers to survive. And the first of a special series, Yulia Shapovalova reports from Moscow on Russia's bid to create a fleet of locally designed and built aircraft.
When far-reaching international sanctions were imposed on Russia in 2022, President Vladimir Putin ordered Russian airlines to replace foreign-built planes with locally made aircraft. The regional Superjet 100 and medium-haul MC-21 planes were initially designed with...
So what do you think should be done, Stock Sniper? Act broke and invest. Spend less and invest and invest. Spend less and invest. Because once you're spending less and you are investing that money, and then you got a side hustle, that is a hedge against all this inflation. People that are invested in the stock market, people that are have side hustles and a regular income, they're not worried about the inflation going up. They're not worried about that. Why? Because they got this. This is why. When you are invested into the stock market and you have a side hustle, guess what? Your money is growing percentage-wise enough to hedge inflation. Look at this move, guys. Stock market all-time highs. If you are invested into the stock market, this right here is an ETF, S&P 500. NVIDIA, look. Basic reading of a chart. Liberation Day. NVIDIA dropped all the way to $85 a share. Now it's 180, where it dropped because of inflation. I mean, because of what happened yesterday and today. But we got up to 183. On a simple level, one share of NVIDIA, Liberation Day. Yesterday, 183. This right here, guys, the simplest way I can explain this. If you put $80 on Liberation Day, if you bought one share, $80 or $90, you just made 100% on your money. More than 100%. So I'm just putting that in simple mathematics where a third grader can understand it. one share, $90, and it doubled. This right here is a hedge against inflation. As an example, if your rent went up 10%, if your gas went up 10%, if your food bill went up 10%, guess what? Just by a simple change in your mindset and knowing exactly what to invest in, you got 100% profit. That is, take away the 10%, increase due to inflation or the prices going up, you still 90% to the good on a hedge. Just saying, we have to focus on investing, educating yourself. You got to focus on that. Just think, if you had 100 shares of NVIDIA on Liberation Day, on this big deal, so we got to focus on that. Can't focus on prices going up, inflation going up. Once you put yourself in the proper position and you're at the right place at the right time and you hanging around the right people, you understand that, hey, when others are fearful, that's when the rich get wealthy. The poor go from being broke to living paycheck to paycheck, and from living paycheck to paycheck to living like the middle class, and the middle class go from the middle class to being rich, and the rich go to being wealthy, and the wealthy get even more wealthy. So right now, the people that are really winning are the people that are invested into the stock market and have a side hustle that's bringing in the income. That's what we got to focus on. I can't say that enough.
With foreign components and systems, but are now on course to complete import substitution. But since the collapse of the Soviet Union, many skills in the aviation industry have been lost. The industry is now dealing with having to invent and...
See, what I learned is not to really worry about what the billionaires are making. What I learned to do is watch the play, peep out what they're doing, and then try to put myself in the position to benefit from what they're doing. Even though it's on a smaller scale, it's still gonna put me and my family in the proper position. I can't worry about their pockets. I got to worry about my own. Once I realize that, once I stop thinking about the billionaires' pockets and start worrying about my own, once I stop saying the rich are getting rich and the poor steady getting poor, once I stop saying that, guys, and start thinking and start hanging around different type of people, my whole life changed, bro. See, people are poor because of a mindset or because of the way you think. That's the reason why. I had to stop being in the mindset of, man, eggs that went up 20%. Man, eggs are getting expensive. Gas getting expensive. I had to quit thinking like that. I had to start thinking, how can I hedge against inflation? Once you start investing, once you start a side hustle, you will now put yourself in the same position as a billionaire, guys. You put yourself in the same position. Even though it's levels to it, you still put yourself in the same position. In other words, when they make money, you make money. When they increase their wealth, you increase your wealth. Why? Because you have understood the secret and understood that you got to be at the right place at the right time and understand that you got to put the work in. And more importantly, you got to be around the right people. Do you use a broker? Yeah. Yeah. I got multiple brokers. I got this broker right here that I'm using right now. And then I got Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade. I got a lot of brokers, Tim. I got Moo. I got Robinhood. I got this broker right here, Webull. I got TD Ameritrade. I got multiple brokers. But Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade is my main broker that I use. But I love Webull because it's so easy, and it also has a app. So yeah, man. That's why I try to tell a side hustle. Even I gotta say it like that because when you say business, you know, it sounds kind of like Richie, but a side hustle, don't get it twisted. A side hustle is a business. Whatever you selling on the side is a side hustle. It could be anything. It could be this fraud, or whatever, a t-shirt, a hat. Even though you might not be making a lot of money, you might be making $30 or $40 a day off your side hustle. It is still a business. And that's how you got to look at it. I don't care if you're making $10 extra a day. If you're cutting grass, it's still a business. When I was a kid and I was 9, 10 years old and I was selling lemonade, guess what? My grandpa told me that is a business. That is a business. Something small as that. My grandpa told me. It's a business. Even though you selling lemonade, you know, for a quarter a cup. That's a business, son. That's what my grandpa told me. Just like that. It's not complicated, guys. It's not sophisticated. You don't have to be a professional. You don't. With the development of the internet today, my grandkid is practicing trading right now. You don't have to be a professional to start trading, bro. You already Google, Netflix, these companies that we use. It's not rocket science. It's not difficult. The difficult thing is putting your mind in that state of mind and pulling the trigger and staying down till you come up. Once we change our mind from being a consumer to an investor, you don't have to be Warren Buffett, bro, to put your family in a different position when it comes to investing. You don't have to be Warren Buffett. My grandfather right here only had a 3rd grade education, bro. He barely knew how to write. But what he did know how to do, he knew how to count money, he knew how to go out and work, and he knew how to act broke, and he knew how to make an investment. That's what he knew how to do. Simple. Simple blueprint. That's all we got to understand. You don't have to be Warren Buffett, bro. You don't. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a professional. You just be a regular person. I seen it in real time. My grandfather right here, I seen it in real time. He only had a 3rd grade education. Barely knew how to read. He didn't even know how to drive. But he knew how to count. He knew how to act broke. He knew how to go out and make money. And he knew how to make investments. And he knew how to teach it to his kids and grandkids. You don't even have to have a high school diploma to figure that out. And in 2025, all you need is this. This and a different way of thinking. When I stopped thinking about prices going up and start thinking about what side hustle can I create? What company can I invest in on this stock market? That's the way you got to think. How can I educate myself? How can I be around the right people? Maybe I need to change my circle. If you're around, if everybody you're around complaining about gas, complaining about the lights, complaining about interest rates, complaining about inflation, all they're doing is complaining, and ain't trying to create a side hustle. You need to change your circle. I said it. You got to change your circle. You got to change your circle. That's what I had to do. I need to hang around people that say, hey, we trying to make money. We trying to earn extra income. We're trying to create a side hustle. We trying to invest in something. What are you investing in? I want to hang around people that got their brokerage account in their hand. Looking at Nvidia, looking at Bitcoin. What are you trading right now? That's the type of people that I want to hang around. I don't want to hang around nobody that's complaining about eggs, bro. I don't. I'm sorry. If you around me complaining about eggs, what is acting broke? Acting broke is acting like you ain't got no money. I'm broke. That's what acting broke is. You might have $1 million, but you're broke. That's acting broke. That's what acting broke is. Yeah, that's what acting broke is. Acting like you ain't got no money. That's what we need to practice. I ain't got no money. I'm broke. But the whole time I'm earning. I'm spending less, which is acting broke. If you spend less, you're acting like you broke. You know, a lot of us act like we rich. You know, it's called living like the Joneses. You act like you got it. A lot of people have 3,000-4,000, and then they go to the club and spend it all. They act like they rich. It's called balling. But that's you got to change the way you think. We got to change the way we think. I'm broke. My grandfather taught me that when I was a little bitty kid. The way he acted, you would thought he was broke. I ain't got no money. I'm broke. But at the same time, I'm working every day. I'm making proper investments. If my AC broke, I can call a reputable company to come fix my AC. My car break down, I can take it to the dealership. I don't have to take it to the shade tree mechanic. That's what I'm saying. Acting broke, I ain't got no money. But if something happened, if my air conditioning break, I got a certified AC guy working on my air conditioning unit. If my starter go out in my car, I'm not looking for Pookie down the street up under the shade tree. I'm taking it to the dealership. Yeah. That's all we got to do is act broke. That's it. Stack money, act broke. Stack money, act broke, and invest the money into the stock market. This is easy to do. It's actually not easy for a lot of people to do, Tim. A lot of people can't do that. Especially in 2025, a lot of people, most people that I know want people to think they rich. Want people to think that they really a rapper. Most people won't. A lot of people ain't gonna act broke. Most people don't act broke, especially these days, because the thing is, they're gonna call you broke. Oh, he broke. Oh, he broke. Oh, he broke. Oh, he broke. Because you're not wearing designer shoes. You're not wearing polo. You're not wearing Hilfiger. You're not driving a Lamborghini. You're driving a Toyota Corolla. Or you're driving a 1992 Buick. You're wearing a t-shirt and jeans every single day. That's actually how you stay up under the radar. But the whole time, you're stacking money. You're investing. Long term. With the idea that you're going to pass it down to your kids and grandkids. That's what my grandfather did. He wore overalls every single day. Every day. He wore his work overalls, bro. Every single day. But guess what? He worked every day. He had no credit card debt. House was paid for. The car that he didn't even know how to drive was paid for. Insurance policies were on the wall. And us as kids, we already knew what the insurance policy was. We already knew what the investments were. We already knew those things. And he wore overalls every single day. That is acting broke. Going to Jack in the Box and Whataburger? Never. Never. Whenever we went to McDonald's, man, it's something big that happened. In my younger years, I could count on my hand how many times I went to McDonald's, bro. I can count how many times I actually went to McDonald's. When I was a kid, they didn't buy me no Jordans. Nope. That's why I don't even wear Jordans to this day. They never bought, when I was a kid, I never owned a pair of Jordans, guys. Never. My mama and my daddy and my grandpa them, they wasn't finna pay $100 for no Jordans. No. I didn't have Polo. I didn't have Giorgio Brutinis. I didn't have Jabos when I was a kid. None of that. None of that when I was a kid. No designer clothes. That's for real. For my birthday, you know what they bought me for my birthday? Stocks and exercise equipment. That's what I got. Or I got a Nintendo or an Atari. Yeah, they got me that. Besides stocks and exercise equipment, I got an Atari or a bike or something like that. But I never got Jordans. I never got Polo. I never got Hilfiger. I never got Jabos, Giorgio Brutinis. None of that. But when I was young, I didn't like it. But I bet not have, I bet not have complained. Yeah, I bet not have said nothing. And I didn't like it. But guess what? It taught me a lot. Because as I got older and I grew up, it clicked. Oh, that's why. That's why I couldn't get a Happy Meal. It's called acting broke. Once I matured, I understood what it meant. I understood, especially when these people started dying and I started seeing and what was left behind. I started seeing the things, the assets, and it clicked. That's why I ain't got to wear no Jordans, bro. I ain't got to this day. You see me with my merch on or a t-shirt or something that I run in. You don't see me looking like a rapper. You don't see me looking like the Doughboy. I'm a regular average person. And see, the thing is, you got to hang around regular average people the same way. And you got to study the rich. My grandfather taught me, you got to study successful people and look and really study them and see how they act. You don't see Warren Buffett. You don't see Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. You see these guys acting like they regular people, like they're a regular person. Tim Cook, regular person. Steve Jobs, which is a great documentary, by the way. Steve Jobs. These guys acted broke, and they still do to this day. Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. Do you see how he dressed, bro? He's acting broke. Only reason why we know he's the richest man in the world is because of TV, and we know. But Elon Musk is not going out spending money every single day, guys. He's not. He's acting broke. And that's how you go from the gutter to living paycheck to paycheck, and then from living paycheck to paycheck to the middle class, and then you go from the middle class to rich. But then when it comes to wealth, the people behind you got to keep it going. That's how you create wealth. Wealth, the riches are passed down. The wealth is created through generations and generations and generations, which is more than, that means that whoever's up under you got to keep it going. Got to keep it going. And whoever's up under them got to keep it going. That's how it works. So wealth is built through generations. But we can go from the mud to living paycheck to paycheck, and then from living paycheck to paycheck to the middle class, and then go from the middle class to rich, and then start teaching your family, and then maybe you get somebody special and they'll take the family to the wealth category. But everybody starts from zero, guys. It just depends on when your family started. Some people is at zero right now. But don't worry, if you're at zero right now, you can start the process. It starts by getting your mind right. Don't worry about the wealthy. Get out of the mindset of the rich get richer and the poor get poor. That's a mindset. That's the way you think. Think and Grow Rich, a great book to go read. And with it being 2025, you don't have to read the book. You don't have to read the book. You can listen to the audio book. It's called Think and Grow Rich. You don't have to read the books no more. You got YouTube Premium, which is a great investment, by the way. Invest in YouTube Premium and listen to the audio book, Think and Grow Rich. It's not about money. It's about the way you think. Being poor and being in the mud is a way of thinking. Somebody could be at zero right now. Get educated a little bit. Go get your job at Jack in the Box. Spend less. Save all your money. Act broke. Take your first work for Jack in the Box for 3 months. Save all your checks. That's your emergency fund. The next 3 months, start putting your money into the stock market. Right here. NVIDIA, S&P 500, which is an ETF. Keep on working. Go to school. Learn a trade. Go to truck driving school. Something. Be an electrician, a mechanic, and keep building with the same process of acting broke. If you do that for 1 year, if you're at zero right now, and it's August, right? You ain't got a job and you ain't got no money. Go to Jack in the Box. Swallow your pride. Go work at Jack in the Box. Be the best worker you can be. Go sign up for school. CDL. Welding. Something. Work for 3 months straight. Don't spend no money. The next 3 months after the 3, now you start investing. Why I don't start investing the first 3 months, Stock Sniper, because you got to get you an emergency fund. The first 3 months, especially if you're living with somebody. First 3 months, when you first get your job, 3 months, don't spend $1. Buy your soap or whatever, but spend as less as possible. Act broke. Or tell whoever you're living with, look, so-and-so, look, Mom, I got a 5-year plan. I just need you to trust me on my plan. It ain't even got to be 5 years. I got a 1-year plan, Mom. I've changed the way I think. I've been listening to a guy called Stock Sniper on YouTube. You should go check him out, Mom. I'm going to go get a job. I'm tired of laying on your couch, playing Fortnite all day, and eating up all your food. I'm going to go get me a job at Whataburger. Mom, Whataburger just gave me a job. I go to work. You tell Mom, I got a 1-year plan. I just need you to trust me, Mom, for 1 year. And tell Mom you're not going to spend no money. I just need your help, Mom. And don't spend no money. 3 months, you got an emergency fund. By the time that 3 months over, if you working and you're making, let's say $2,000 a month, if you don't spend a dime, you got $6,000. Simple, guys. You got $6,000 by November. That $6,000, boom. That's the beginning of your emergency fund. You keep on working. Right after you work that first 3 months and you get your emergency fund, that next check goes straight into a brokerage account. And you start the investing process. S&P 500, NVIDIA, Google, the companies that you know, like, and trust, just like that. Meanwhile, when you get off work, you're on Google learning about investing. You're on Google learning about investing, right? Then you start thinking, what skill do I need to educate myself at while you're working at Jack in the Box? Then guess what you do? You go enroll in school. I'm interested in welding. I'm interested in being a mechanic. I'm interested in being a nurse. I'm interested in being a doctor, lawyer, etc., etc., etc. You work at Jack in the Box. You go to school, CDL. You go to school. You work at Jack in the Box, and you take about 30 minutes of your day. You take about 30 minutes of your day, and you learn about investing. You learn about interest rates. You learn about earnings report. You learn about investing, finance, in other words. You can really educate yourself about finance, basically simple, on YouTube. And then you start investing with the goal of, I'm going to hold on to these companies for my grandkids. Once you have that mindset, guys, once you have that mindset, by August, by next August, you should be ready to rock and roll. But remember the 3 months of emergency fund. You don't stop right there. You put money in your brokerage account. You put money in your emergency fund. As you put money in your brokerage account and buying stocks, you're also steady fueling your emergency fund. Meanwhile, you're not paying no bills. You on mama's couch, remember? And you already had that hard conversation with mom. Mom, I need you to trust me for 1 year. So when next August get here, you will be on a whole nother level. You won't be in the gutter no more. 3 things are going to happen. You won't be in the mud no more. You definitely won't be living paycheck to paycheck. And you'll be on the path to being in the middle class. That quick, 1 year. Probably not even that long. If you make the proper investments and catch it at the proper time, like I'm talking about NVIDIA, a lot of people that bought down here, 100% on your money, every single week, every single month, you buying shares of NVIDIA. Right here. Compound interest, which if you get on the internet and you learn, while you learning about earnings report, you're also learning about compounded interest, which is very, very important. Compounded interest is when you buy every week, every month, every time you get paid, the money is compounded. So if you bought NVIDIA down here in the 80s, at Liberation Day, every week I'm getting paid. Every week I'm building my stockpile, right? I'm putting shares of stocks. I'm saving them. I'm buying 2 here, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 5, 1, 2. And guess what's happening during this whole process that happened for, let's see, from April, 4 months, right? You started with 1 share. You work at Jack in the Box. You just got your first job. You already talked to mom. You already told her the process. You changed the way you think. You invested in the stock market. Every week I get paid. I'm buying shares all the way up. I've been doing it for 4 months straight. Now it's not 100. Now it's not $88 or $90 anymore. Now NVIDIA is at 180. You got 100% on your money. You working at Jack in the Box. You're not paying no rent because you're living with mom for free. You have changed the way you think. You're not worried about the price of eggs. You're not worried about inflation. Why? Because with your investing, you have just eliminated any inflation for you. No reason to complain about eggs, gas, right? Because as eggs and gas and inflation goes up, you're doing what? You're building wealth the whole time. Just like that, guys. Simple. It's simple, but it's not simple. It's the way you think. It's a plan. Stack money, act broke. You do that for 1 year. Next August, you'll see more money than you ever seen in your whole entire life. Only because of a mental shift in the way you think. And guess what? Once you do that first year, you're going to be sold. You're not going to think like a consumer no more. You're going to think like an investor. You're going to start paying attention to how they're moving. And you'll start understanding the things that I've been explaining in all my lives. You'll stop thinking the rich get richer and the poor get poor. Because just in 1 year, you're not poor anymore. That's how it works. Just think if you do that for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Just think if you put in your 25 summers, 25 years of acting broke, but you're earning, you're spending less, and you're investing in the stock market. Little, by little, by little, by little, by little. That's the meaning of acting broke. And you teach it to your kids. When you teach it to your kids and they buy into it, what's going to happen is that a big old ball is going to be created. It's going to go from great-grandfather to grandfather to dad to grandson to granddaughter. No, to my daughter, to my grandson, to my great-grandson or great-granddaughter. And after a while, that little bitty ball is going to be a big old ball of passing down from family member to family member. And it all starts from zero. And it all starts from acting broke. That's what I learned from a man that had a third grade education. My great grandfather right there. That's what I learned from him, which is my great grandfather right there, and my grandfather that y'all have seen before, the guy that you see with the overalls on every single day. Yeah, that was my grandfather. Is my grandfather. World War I veteran. Act broke. Wore overalls every single day. He told me, you go cut the grass. You gonna rake the leaves. This $12 that I'm paying you, you better put $7 in that drawer. My chores. I got paid $12 a week for my chores. When he paid me my $12, it was mandatory that I put $7 in the drawer every week. It started with $12, guys. You make $12, you put that $7 in that drawer. That $6, you can go buy your pickles and cookies or whatever the case may be. But you better not touch that $7 that's in that drawer. Next week, I get paid the same $7, the same $12. Put the 7 in the drawer. The 6, I get to go to the candy store, the candy lady. I get to go to the candy lady. The next week, I rake the leaves, I cut the grass or whatever chores. He give me another 12. Be truthful, stop playing games. What are you talking about? What's not truthful than what I'm telling you? I'm telling you my story. What's not true? What you don't think is true? Tim, what you don't think is true? What you don't think is true? You never had to do chores? You didn't get paid for chores when you was a kid? That's how it happened. That's my truth. And evidently you new to the channel. I've showed my portfolio on here before. So I've showed my portfolio on live multiple times. So you new to the channel, you late. So you need to do less typing and more listening. I've showed my portfolio on live multiple times. I got no reason to lie. I've showed my portfolio. I'm on here, I ain't selling nothing. I'm giving information that I learned from my grandfather that's on this wall. So I don't know, I mean, don't get mad because I was raised a certain way, bro. See, that's what's wrong with a lot of y'all. That's what's wrong. Just because you wasn't raised like that, don't mean that nobody else was. I'm 50 years old and retired. Let that sink in. I already showed my stock portfolio on this internet. I already showed it multiple times. So, but I'm glad. Stick around. Stick around. Stay watching this channel. The next time I show the portfolio, you're gonna be amazed. Yeah, be truthful. It ain't my fault, bro, that you didn't have the proper grandfather or the grandparents like what I got. It ain't my fault. Instead of you listening and taking notes and figuring it out, you on here hating. That's what I be talking about, guys. The mind. You got to think about certain things. I'm sitting here giving you a blueprint that can help you and your family. I'm sitting here giving you a blueprint. Instead of you appreciating it, appreciating the knowledge that the OG is giving you, you think I'm lying. But I have showed my portfolio on here multiple times. Don't make no sense. Relax, youngster. You relax. You the one in your feelings, thinking that what I'm telling you is not true. I've showed my portfolio on here. That's how I know you new to this channel, bro. You new. I've showed my portfolio on here at least 5 times. But don't worry. The next time I show it, you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed. The next time I show it, just stick around. Keep coming. Keep listening. Keep watching. The next time I show my portfolio again, the next time I show my portfolio again, I'm talking about life. So what am I not being truthful about life, Tim? What am I not being truthful about when it comes to life? I'm telling you how I was raised. That's life. I was telling you, I'm telling y'all chores. My grandfather had me doing chores, cutting the grass, raking the leaves out in the yard, taking out trash. Every week, he paid me $12. Every week. He told me, you better put $7 up. You can go buy cookies and pickles with the other 6, but you better not touch that 7. I did my chores through the week. Paid me again. Put the 7 up. I go right back to the corner store. Buy whatever I want, my snacks or whatever. That's life. I can talk. Look, if you don't look, you about to get blocked, bro. I'm about to get ready to block you. I thought you was all right. But I'm about to get ready to block you, bro. Because you bringing negative energy to a real story that I'm telling. Some people need to hear this. Maybe you need to hear it. And it struck a nerve. I'm telling you a real story that can help somebody. And here you are coming in here disrupting the chat. I'm about to get ready to block you. I don't need that over here, bro. I don't. I thought you was all right. You come over here all the time. Now, I guess because I'm telling my life story on how I was raised to the world, you in your feelings. You in your feelings. If you don't like what I'm talking about, you don't have to come over here. I'm talking about my grandpa, which is on this wall. I'm talking about my great-grandfather. I'm talking about what I want to talk about. Maybe somebody can identify with it. Maybe somebody can learn from it. Maybe somebody can take these principles and teach it to their kids and grandkids. I'm not no youngster. I want you to know that. I'm not young, bro. I'm not a kid. That statement was not for me. Nobody's commenting but you. You are the only one that's commenting. All the other people in here are just listening. Everybody else is listening. You're the only one commenting. To be honest with you, bro, this is not a time to have to run your fingers, man. It's a time to listen. Especially if you can't bring nothing positive. Because those comments that you're putting in right there, starting with be truthful, stop playing games, that's not positive. That's not adding value to the chat. To me, it seems like I'm starting to believe that you're a kid now, bro. You're giving me vibes of a youngster. That's the vibes you're giving me right now, bro. Instead of listening to the OG, which that's the problem with a lot of these youngsters. They don't want to listen to the OG. They want to challenge the OG instead of listening. Be truthful, stop playing games. I'm telling you, I'm telling the chat, I'm telling the world that my grandfather had me doing chores, bro. Paying me $12 a week. I didn't say my grandfather had me doing chores, paying me $1,000 a week. I didn't say that. I didn't come up here and make it seem like the struggle wasn't real. I came up here and said, my grandfather paid me $12 to rake leaves, cut grass, and do chores. He paid me $12 a week, told me I better save $7, and I could do whatever I want to do with the $6. This guy says, be truthful, stop playing games. I didn't say my grandfather bought me platinum chains. I didn't say my grandfather and my parents bought me Jordans every single week. I actually said I never owned a pair of Jordans. I actually said they never bought me polo and hip figure. I didn't say I had a new pair of polo every day. I didn't say my grandfather was a doctor. I said he had a 3rd grade education, which he did. Which he did. I'm telling my story on how to go from 0 to 100. Not fast, but slow. Positive. Teaching. Basic financial skills. Whatever you make, you save some. You work hard. You save your money. You put it up. You keep working. What is negative? What is negative energy about that? Teaching structure. Whenever your parent tell you, wash the dishes, take out the trash, cut the grass, rake the leaves, I'm gonna give you $12 a week. That's structure. That's teaching responsibility. That's teaching you how to spend less. I'm gonna pay you $12 for your chores. You put 7 up. You can do whatever you want to do with the 6. And when I go check your drawer, son, that $7 better still be in the drawer the next week. That's structure. That's adding value. That's putting value in a kid. That way, when I grow up, I do what? I tell my kids the same thing. You got chores you got to do. When you get home, you got to wash the dishes. You got to take out the trash. You got to cut the yard. You got to, if it's leaves on the roof, you got to get the ladder and go up there and get the leaves off the roof. It's called chores. Make sure you take that trash out every Wednesday and Saturday. And you get paid a chore. That's teaching your kid responsibility. Teaching them work ethic. What is negative about that? See, that's what I be talking about, guys. You got to change the way you think. You got to change the way you think. Once you change the way you think, you teach it to your kids. You teach it to your grandkids. And yes, Tim, I do have grandkids, bro. I do have grandkids. Yes, I do. So, you can take that. You can listen to it and try to apply it to your life, or you can get in your feelings and reject it. But I'm telling my real life story. That's what the internet is for, to inspire other people by your life story. Somebody might watch this video and be like, wow, I never had that kind of discipline in my life. I never had that. Maybe I should be implementing some of these strategies to my kids. It teaches your kids positive foundation on how the world works. That's how the world works. It's training your kids about life, which I did not understand when I used to be cutting that grass in 100-degree heat, getting on top of the roof, raking those leaves, putting them in the bag all day, while my friends was laughing and playing basketball in the park, playing fake, laughing and giggling. See, my friends didn't have chores. I did. Their parents let them do whatever. And my grandfather always told me, because sometimes I used to feel some type of way because I was a kid. My grandfather always told me, say, boy, you're going to see how majority of them going to turn out. You just keep living life and you will see. And guess what? He was right. Because a lot of them are still sitting over there on MLK on that crate that I talk about all the time. A lot of them can't save $1 to save their life. Why, Stock Sniper? Because they wasn't raised with the proper foundation. So their minds are closed. And they still over there on MLK right now. Drinking a 40 ounce, smoking a cigarette, talking about what happened in 1970, talking about what happened in 1980 on that block. And I realized, man, what my grandfather told me, I didn't like it, and how they raised me, I didn't like it at the time, but it built me to what I am right now. The exercise equipment they used to buy me. I'm running 6 miles a day, every day. If you join me for the walk down, you see exactly what I do. But the thing is, I tell it to other people. That's why I'm on this internet. That's why. To inspire somebody. It might be somebody that's my age. Guess what? It's not too late. It starts from zero and a changing of your mind and to be able to listen. You might be 20 years old. If what I say strike you, maybe you didn't grow up like I did. But don't worry. You can start right where you at. You can start right there and be like, wow, I got a 6-month-old baby. I got a 1-year-old kid. I'm about to start implementing some of these things that I'm hearing on this channel or any other channel. And I'm going to put me a plan together. This right here is my blueprint plan. I'm going to put me a plan together. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. I don't know if you can see it that well, but I got a plan right here on this board. Put a plan together and run with that plan. It might not be 100%, but like in school, all you got to get is 70 and above to pass. If you get it right 7 times out of 10, you're going to come out on the other side. Your family going to come out on the other side. Winning. See, I don't have to get on this internet, bro, and play games. I'm not playing no games. I'm actually trying to help somebody, bro. Because the stuff on this channel can change somebody's family's life. And I have changed people's lives on this internet. So I ain't got time for games. I don't have time for games. I don't. Because you know why? You've been in here a while, Tim. I say it all the time. I got kids and grandkids that watch this, bro. I got people that watch this, that come in and give truth and help out and listen too. But what I do know, I got 150 years, bro, of a blueprint that can help a lot of people. You just can't get in your feelings. You can't get in your feelings. You just got to listen, put your own plan down, and put the work in. Earn, spend less, and invest. Simple. And teach others. And share it to the world. Everybody ain't gonna want to hear it. The haters gonna come. Right? Some of the words gonna strike nerves. But we gotta stop being so sensitive. Once I learned to keep my mouth closed and listen, it changed my life. I'm very good at that. I'm very good at listening. That's why I love to chat. If you're gonna chat something, if you're gonna type something that somebody can learn from. I like when that happens. Why? I got grandkids that watch this, bro. And I say this all the time. I don't want my grandkid to watch this chat and then take what he said, be truthful. Stop playing games. Or you got to know when to close your mouth. Come on, man. Yes, the live chat means people should come and discuss things. But when you're typing, you got to be mindful of what you're typing. You can't be disrespectful. And if you're talking about somebody else, you got to let it be known. Because nobody's in here typing but me and you and Jonathan Davis. And all Jonathan Davis is saying is like, share, and subscribe. So basically it's just you. Tim, it's not a lot of people in here like it would be if I was doing this from the live feed. I'm doing it in computer mode. So it's less people in the chat. You're the only one chatting. So you got to be more specific if you're talking about somebody else. Otherwise, when you make a comment like that, I'm thinking you're talking to me. And I got grandkids that's watching this, bro. They're watching. And they're learning. And I got people that are not even typing, but are listening and learning as well. But I want people to come in and type and say a lot of things for the education of the channel. See, I'm not here to entertain, bro. I'm not here to entertain nobody. If I wanted to entertain people, you know what I would do? I would go over there to the basketball court and go live and play basketball. That's what I would do. But I didn't start doing this to entertain nobody, bro. This is not the entertainment channel. It's learn, teach. That's what this channel is. And guess what? In the chat, you can teach. This is not for entertainment purposes, bro. This is for learning and teaching, not entertainment. That's not why I'm here, bro. I got grandkids that watch this. I say all the time on my videos that I make these videos for the people, but I make these videos for my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids. Why, Stock Sniper? Because all these videos are being recorded and it's going to be on here forever. And just like I got my great-grandfather picture right there, my great-grandkids are going to be able to come and watch this live and learn something and be able to hear my voice in real time. My great-grandfather, I never heard his voice. All I know is what he did, and I know what he looked like. But with the development of this internet, my great-great-grandkids will be able to not only hear me, but see me. That's my main focus and purpose of being on the internet. I ain't got to be on here, bro. I don't. But because I want people to learn the 150 years of this blueprint that was put down to me, I want other people to know it. Why, Stock Sniper? Because my grandfather told me to do that. He told me to do that. And the main foundation of it is that my great-great-great-grandkids are able to watch all these videos. So guess what? I'm going to keep on talking. I'm going to keep on sharing. I'm going to keep on learning. I'm going to keep on teaching. I'm going to keep on talking because I talk a lot. When I learn something, I share it. When I go through something, I share it. I got a lot to talk about. Why? Because I've been living for over 50 years. I've been living for over 50 years. And I got a lot of information in me. A lot. Not only my 50 years, but another 100 years plus. I just explained how my mindset was developed. It started with an old man in overalls telling me to go cut some grass, to go rake up his leaves, and I'm gonna pay you $12, and you better put up 7, and then the other 6 you can spend it, and you're gonna keep on doing these chores, and I'm gonna keep on paying you $12, and every week I better still see that $7. I better see it increase every week. And he checked it every week. So he was teaching me financial literacy. That's what they call it now. He was teaching me financial literacy, putting it in my brain, in my subconscious mind, way in the 80s. So the point is, it's long term. It starts really small. And of course, we fall sometime. Sometime, we make mistakes. But then long as you have that imprinted in the back of your foundation, back of your subconscious mind, you can get back on track real fast. That's just like I run 6 miles a day on the walk down. If I was to fall off and stop running, I know exactly I stopped running for 3 months. Now I got to go back to running a mile or 2 miles a day. I know exactly what to do to get back to the 6 miles a day. I know the blueprint and the process because I did it already, and it is inside of my subconscious mind to repeat the process to get back to the 6 miles a day. Because it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. All right, let's go back over here to.
It is enabled by Dragon and the space
I really want to watch this, guys.
Technologies, systems, and materials that will be needed for future
I want to see them take off
missions.
SpaceX.
Every mission yields critical science,
Live
critical
chat.
research,
Tim,
and learnings
MMA,
that help make life
MMM.
both on Earth
How
and
far?
in
Oh, it's
space
all
better.
good, Tim.
And flights just like today's help us continue to
You
lay
gotta,
this
you know, you gotta
foundation for a future
clarify.
among the stars and
Like,
continue our mission
who
to
you
make
talking to
life
in the chat?
multiplanetary. We'll be signing off from SpaceX
You
for
got,
now,
you let
so
me
we're going to
know.
send you back over to Kennedy Space Center. But before we go, we want to thank
But
NASA,
this is
Joseph,
SpaceX,
for entrusting us with
and they're
today's
about to
mission,
get ready to
and
go
thank
into
you
outer
all
space.
for
What I
being
like
with
about
us today.
SpaceX is that
Well, thank you very
it
much,
goes
Ramya,
out of
Ronnie,
space,
and the teams here
and
at
then the
SpaceX.
rocket comes
Another
back.
phenomenal
It comes
opportunity
right
to
back
get
to the
NASA
launching
SpaceX
pad.
Crew 11 in orbit today. And with that, we're
That's
going
what
to
I
say
really want
goodbye
to
from here
see.
in Hawthorne until we pick
I'm
back
glad.
up
I'm
with our
glad I
docking
had that
coverage on the
rant
2 a.m.
because I really
Saturday,
want to
August
see this,
2nd,
guys. I
tomorrow.
want to show
We are
y'all
targeting
this.
docking to the space-facing port of the station's
I want
Harmony
to show
module
y'all.
at 3 a.m. Eastern. So for now, thank you for
But we'll
joining
come back
us,
to
and
that.
we're going to talk.
Conditions, quite honestly, just they don't fit in the hospital. There's the hospital is over capacity, you know, to say the least. And so every person that is here is basically a trauma case, and the majority of everybody I have seen.
But see, that's why I'm glad I went on that rant and wasted some time, because I really want to see SpaceX go into space. I really want to see that. Appreciate y'all for joining me. I'm your host, the one and only Stock Sniper. And yeah, we rocking and rolling. I just basically gave a simple blueprint that anybody can implement right now. I don't care if you wasn't, you know, because a lot of people wasn't basically raised like I was, and I really understand that. But I don't want nobody to get offended by that. I want you to be inspired, because you can start from zero. You could be the first one to start that process, right? Maybe you didn't have stocks passed down, or a house, or whatever, by your parents or grandparents, or whatever the case may be. But you can start from zero. All it takes is that really simple process that I was talking. You might be starting a family right now and be like, well, dang, nobody ever gave me nothing. Nobody ever left me anything. But the thing is, don't have that type of mindset. Start thinking that I will start from right now doing what I need to do. That's how it starts. I will not enter a Stock Sniper live chat again. All right, Tim, that's cool. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. I'll let you later. You know, sometimes it be like that. You know, maybe this is not the channel for you. And if that's the way it is, it's all good. It's all good. You don't have to enter the chat if you don't want to. Because at the end of the day, I do this for the people who want to see it, but I mainly do it to have something for my grandkids to look at when I'm not around. So that's the way it is. But I hope may God bless you. You know, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Here, it's a fight against survival, not a fight against food. We can clearly see hundreds and the crowds are coming, some of them carrying sacks of flowers, and some are coming back home empty-handed in the light of the ongoing famine that has gripped Gaza.
And see, the thing is, we live in America. You know what I'm saying? Man, I just have to pray for these people overseas like this. They got it bad. They got it real bad over there. We got it good. Those people, they really got it bad.
Let's be honest, that's the reality. Why do we come here? For a bite to eat. There is nothing at home. We have no choice. Even as a government employee, my salary isn't enough to cover our basic needs.
Wait,
The
hold up.
cash simply isn't enough. And even as a government worker, I am forced to walk
Trying to
towards
see what's
death.
going on with the SpaceX.
We can also see how desperate Palestinians here walking in the heat of the sun just to try to find something to bring back home for their children in order to save them from the famine that has gripped Gaza. Ibrahim Khalili, Al Jazeera, from northern Gaza City, Palestine.
Well, at least 5 countries have been airdropping humanitarian aid into Gaza that aid agencies say are ineffective and symbolic, as well as dangerous. France says it's dropped 40 tons on Friday. That's the equal of one large truckload. The UN says up to 600 trucks are needed every day. UNRWA chief Philippe Lazzarini says airdrops are insufficient and 100 times more expensive than bringing aid in by land.
Dang.
Parachuted loads often end up scattered across several areas when they land, and Palestinians say they feel humiliated having to scrape food off the ground rather than collect it from aid organizations. Meanwhile, 13 Palestinian children have been evacuated to Spain for specialized medical treatment. UNICEF says thousands of wounded children in Gaza need treatment abroad. Many have suffered life-changing injuries from Israeli attacks. Spain's health minister says Palestinians don't have access to basic health care and asked Israel to allow more humanitarian aid into the Strip. A former contractor for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is speaking about what he witnessed at food distribution sites. He's described war crimes and what he says are atrocities committed using American taxpayers' dollars. US Senator Bernie Sanders posted this interview with Tony Aguilar on his YouTube channel.
My name is Tony Aguilar. I'm a retired Lieutenant Colonel Green Beret from service in the United States Army. I serve.
I really want to watch SpaceX, but I can't find it right now. Let me see. Hold on, chat. But yeah, guys, I appreciate y'all for joining me. I figured I'd do the setup a little bit different today. That live feed, you know, it makes a lot of people come in. But like this, less people will come in. Man, I'm trying to, golly. I'm trying to find it now. Did it already launch? Oh, bro, I think I missed it. Running my mouth. Shit. Wait, is this it? Oh, no, they haven't launched it yet. Okay. Wait, yeah, they did. Wow. Yeah, guys. But yeah, I'm gonna give it to you raw and uncut, guys. I mean, I ain't gonna sit here and make up nothing. That's what I'm not gonna do. I ain't really trying to offend nobody. I'm just telling it how it was for me. That's what some of us sometimes people can say some things, you know, and it'll get it, and people are getting their feelings about it. Which is, I think, is unfortunate, because how can somebody else's the way somebody else was raised, like, really hurt your feelings? Like, I'm talking about how I was raised. That's what I realized, though. These days, a lot of people are getting their feelings real quick behind nothing. Like, behind nothing. Get offended real easily. Basically behind nothing. How can I get offended on how you was raised? You telling me how you was raised. How can I get offended by that? That absolutely makes no sense. That's why it's so hard for some people to really catch on and learn anything, man. Because they got a closed mind. And a closed mind, guys, my grandpa used to tell me that all the time. A closed mind don't get fed. Closed mind don't get fed. Yep. A closed mind don't get fed. You got to have an open mind, especially when it comes to knowledge and wisdom. You got to have an open mind. Can't be so sensitive about certain things. People are like sensitive, really sensitive these days, which is really unfortunate. You got to be, have some tough skin, That's why I'm glad, man. My grandfather, that's why I'm glad the way I was raised. They didn't raise me, to be easily offended by words, bro. That's why I'm glad I was raised like that. They raised them people, raised me real to have tough skin. Raised me to be real rough. Not all sensitive, especially to words. Just think about it, guys. People are being so sensitive to words, to what somebody's saying on the internet. Like, think about that for a second. You getting in your feelings about what somebody's saying on the internet. Like, that's what this world is coming to. Being hurt and get offended by what somebody say on the internet. And then what's so cold about it, I'm not cussing nobody out. I'm not calling you out your name. I'm basically telling the world how I was raised, and maybe how you can implement some of the strategies in your life. And somebody gets offended by that. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Well, but then again, who am I? I'm just an old man. That's all. That's why I say, whoever watching this video, you can't let words, you can't let nothing really get under your skin like that. You just can't do it. Your livelihood depends on it. What you do is you sit and you analyze what the person is saying. They're telling a story. You listen to the story. It's just like watching a movie, bro. So you telling me if you're watching a movie and the movie is telling a story and you get offended by the movie and get mad and don't want to watch the movie no more. Like it don't make no sense to me. It's crazy. That's why if you're young out there, always try to learn. Stop being so emotional. Get out your feelings. And start thinking, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from what this guy is saying? Can I learn from it or can I not learn from it? That's the question. Can I learn from this situation? What can I learn from the situation? That's the question. What can I learn from this video I'm watching? What can I learn from this conversation that I'm having? What can I learn from this conversation that I'm listening to? What can I learn? And more importantly, what can I learn from it to teach it to my kids and grandkids and implement it in my system? What can I learn? Can this benefit me and my kids and my grandkids? Can I learn from that? Let me sit and think for a second. Can I actually learn from this? And sometimes the best lessons come in harsh communications. Let me say it again. Sometimes the best lessons comes in harsh communication that'll strike a nerve. And a lot of times, a lot of us need our nerves struck to change the way we think. We got to toughen your skin up. Get a little tough. Stop being so sensitive. Grow out of it. Do some push-ups, some sit-ups. Go outside and go run. Go lift some weights. Do whatever you got to do to get that sensitivity and that out your system. Toughen that skin up. Guess what? When you get out there in the real world, you'll get eaten alive if you got soft skin. Because they'll talk to you any kind, all type of ways. They'll do you all type of ways in the real world. Why you getting emotional behind a YouTube video? It's crazy work. I kind of like this setup though. I like the way it look on the screen. It ain't a whole lot of people in the chat. Yeah, I like it. I like it like this. Yeah, I like it like this. See how long I've been live. I think I'm gonna end it right here. Yeah, 2.5 hours. Yeah, I'm finna go. I got things I gotta do, man. I really want to see this But wait, it already happened. Or is that an old one? I don't know. Let me do a little bit more searching. Oh yeah, it already happened. All we gotta do, all they doing now is waiting for it to come back. It already happened. So I think that's it for right now, guys. I'm gonna go on. Let me see what's going on with this stock market. We dropped down. Maybe somebody caught the dip. Let's see. Let me share this tab. Because we did W-shaped pattern. See, we did make this bottom down here on the news from this morning. And we're bouncing and we are recovering. On the S&P 500, we got down to 621. W-shaped pattern on the move back up. Let's see about NVIDIA. NVIDIA bounced down to 171, around 171.50, lower today, 170.89, and we're back moving on up. We're back above 176. So the stock market is starting to recover pretty well. Starting to recover. See, in pre-market, we had this sell-off because of the jobs report and the tariffs. Some people sold off. But then guess what? People came in and bought the dip and bringing it back up. Just like that. S&P 500. Same thing. AMD. Same thing. AMD looking good, guys. Same thing with AMD. Peloton, same thing. Same thing. Well, I think I'm ending right here, guys. I think it's going to be it until the walk down. Or it do kind of look like it's going to rain a little bit. I stayed on here longer than what I really wanted to because I was wanting to look at that SpaceX leave space, but I missed it, which I ain't tripping. I ain't tripping at all. So I appreciate y'all for joining me. Appreciate y'all for joining me. Come join me for the walk down. Come join me for the walk down. I run 6 miles and then I walk another 2 or 3 and I go live and I do my show. It's called the walk down. This right here is not a show. The walk down is a show. We're on season 2, episode, I think today is 33. Yeah. So with that being said, I love and I appreciate y'all. Appreciate everybody for coming and rocking with me. Everybody that's been subscribing to the channel. Everybody that's been, commenting, being respectful. I love and I appreciate y'all. Till the walk down. I am the one and only stock sniper. 704 Wall Street is my block. Yeah, it is. 704 Wall Street is my block. Earn, spend less, and invest. Stack money, act broke. To the next one. I love and I appreciate y'all. This is the one and only stock sniper. I'm out.